Hey Jen, thanks for agreeing to chat with me this morning. How are you?
Having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing good. It's like this year, it seems like it's January 25th. I feel like it has been packed full to the brim already, but in like really good ways too, where I'm able to be kind of like go inward and be quiet. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be a full year, but I am also like trying to be really intentional about making space. So that's how I'm feeling right now.
No, that's yeah. I so feel that 100% in my life and also a lot with people that I've been talking to recently as well.
Well, that's fun. Yeah,
The time that we're in. Yeah. It's very compounded and it's very interesting how often when people come for private sessions, this happens a lot. People talk about it a lot. Is like intending to have a more natural pacing and more space in their life because they're like kind of competing with themselves about getting things done or being a certain way. And anyway,
yeah.
yeah, and it just reminds
No,
me
it's
like,
interesting because so the way that this conversation has evolved between you and I is I'm just gonna make sure my notifications are off. We we were in a jewelry workshop together with our friend Haley, and then after that, you and I like I did a sound there. Was it a sound? What is the name of the actual
I call it
lesson?
sound attunements.
Yeah.
When it's a private session, it's a sound attunement.
That
Yeah.
was That was amazing. And then we had coffee afterwards and we could like or maybe that was before. I don't remember
Yeah,
like
you're right. It was after. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Because we couldn't really talk during that time. And
And it
and
opened up so much. We were like, we gotta get together.
yeah, 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 yeah. And we had just such a great conversation. And it was like crazy because I was telling you things and then you were talking about like what you're hearing from other people. And it was like assuring, it was like a self-affirming or just affirming in a way of like this is like a important conversation and um it's just like there's more to be talked about here. So
Mhm.
anyway, I'm just so glad that you agreed to come on here. I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself. White Wave Restorations is your business. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like what people can expect to experience from sound immersion and
Mhm.
craniosacral therapy and yoga. So share all
Yeah.
the things.
So it's like perfect how you led in with what you said because I've been kind of reflecting lately and realizing like the yoga that I specialize or offer most frequently is stillness oriented. And I'm often like guiding people in and then letting them be and giving that space and that silence for them to fill. Sound immersion being the same, like you're choosing to take an hour or an hour and a half, be awake like but also then coming to places of deep restoration or possibly falling asleep, but the
Yeah,
idea
like me when I was snoring.
that was so sweet. Like I was so glad. And it was amazing how quickly too
Yeah.
dove in. It was great. um truly like in the restoring like beyond the sleep, but anyway, I wait, so yeah, how often do we choose to just basically be doing as little as possible for an hour without contact with our phones, without being in traffic, construction, obviously all the things, all the like all the possible things that could be jarring to our nervous systems, and then receiving coherent frequencies that are in like true coming and there's so much I could say, but
Yeah. Say it all. We want to hear it all.
it really begins with the intention of the person and the facilitator. So I really think it starts from there. So coming from a pure intentional place of wanting to bring peace to that individual or whatever else. And um, so it's all that to say, it's like, again, space, taking up space and simply being and not doing anything. It's like, it's novel to a lot of people, a lot of adults, like going through the motions. It's in our culture, we're very fast paced. There's a lot of demands. And then with the craniosacral therapy, which is the newest add-on, I'm really, really enjoying delving into it and kind of making it my own and connecting with people. And like, it's just so fascinating to me how it's like, how when we really listen and respond to that listening, even if it makes no logical sense, which I think we've talked about, like, and it's like, oh, like it opens up this whole other, like,
So
so
what is it exactly? Because I had never heard of it before you were talking about it. So
oh, thank you. Yeah. So, craniosacral therapy is a gentle hands-on approach to regulating the nervous system, essentially. And it also can, in the process, well, since the nervous system is innervated with all of the bodily systems, it helps with digestion, it can help with sleep, it helps with um just like basically everything, like pain, muscular tension. Um, and you're just, it's a gentle touch on different areas of the body, primarily the cranium, skull,
Mhm.
um, and but not necessarily, but that is like a big spot because that innervates everywhere else.
Yeah.
Mm. And the spine and wherever, like,
So it's like hitting certain nerves that like open up like pathways to your body, basically, kind of.
right.
In
And
a
kind
way, it's not like oh my goodness, I can't think of what it's called, acupuncture, but in a way it kind of responds similarly to acupuncture, maybe.
yeah, I would say so. It's like energetically, it's similar in how it works because you could be touching one place and then you have a release somewhere totally different in the body.
Yeah.
Um, and what I'm learning that's kind of mystical and fun about it is like feeling called to touch a certain area, and me as a practitioner not knowing really anything about the person's history outside of like, like I'm tired, I'm here because whatever. It's like, well, I feel really called to touch here, and in that moment that person has a release on their like totally different part of their body that they always have tension holding, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's very interesting how,
So
yeah.
intuition plays a really big part in it, I think.
Yes, thank
You
you.
and I have talked about, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just like
No,
kind of
you're right.
off of that. It's so funny because, well, I don't know where I should go with this, but I'm a very like, I've talked about being like very spiritual person. Um, and in some what ways like religious, and in ways, um but welcoming to all people. So the reason I say that is because I do think that like all of us kind of come into the world with a sense of like intuition, and what you're talking about does feel like when I was doing the sound immersion with you, or I forget exactly what you called it, but I remember at one point I was just like kind of in this like sleep state, and I had set like you and I were having a conversation in this like dream that I was having. And I was like, oh, that sounds so good, can you like do it over my head or something like that? And then you literally were like you had gone from like across the room and you came over and you like hit this thing over my head, and like I could just, I don't even, it was the craziest thing. So it's kind of like what you're talking about, like you just are very intuitive.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you described it that way, it made my heart sing because that's how I've always within myself kind of identified those like the relationship of facilitator recipient. It's like this deep energetic conversation that's happening. So yeah, that's exactly what that is. And I
Yeah.
could say there's so many things I could say about that, but we could like that's for another time because
Is
that's
there
one.
anything you want to say about that before we move on to the next?
I feel like that's perfect. Yeah, it was
Okay.
just mostly examples and things, but
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I know, I feel like you and I could talk forever, so I have to be really careful. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey to like how you've gotten to where you are. And I feel like your work is so intentional and like deeply impactful. And I just want to know, like, how did you find your way into the space of holistic healing and nervous system rebalancing? And then also, was there a particular moment or experience that inspired you to fully step into this path?
Thank you. That's a beautiful question, and I appreciate your words, kind words. I So the first modality that I experienced was yin yoga, and I remember that like totally changing my world. It's stillness oriented yoga, and um it was one of those things where I'm like, I love this so much. I want to share this with people. And so that's it, and it's kind of like domino affected since that time of like somebody invited me to a sound bath over 10 years ago, and I went and it changed my life. And while it took me like 5 years, it was kind of like something that eventually it was like, oh, this is so beautiful and non-invasive, and like really like changing my reality of like managing my stress within nursing and making my like feel calm and sleep well. Um and same with the craniosacral therapy. I was receiving sessions, and like so that's really like the premise of how I've continued to choose to explore these different modalities. And um let me just go back to I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just thinking, so
Yeah.
basically what you're saying is like through actually experiencing the benefits of these practices, you've like leaned into exploring them more and more and taking on that as like an actual business, which is yeah.
Exactly, because ultimately what I recognized and realized was how much it was like I was as a person that was like go against the wall, like running, like literally running, like working 12-hour shifts in nursing and like just doing and like not like that. I literally needed to be told to sit and stay for me to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
I can
like,
totally relate to that. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like everyone, like it's so challenging to kind of to take that and to even know what where to go and what to do. Like if you don't have that connection
Yeah.
to something that has made you feel that way, you don't know what you're missing.
Right,
You don't
right.
know that you need it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like that's been a big piece for me. And there was something that you said that like triggered something, and I'm so sorry. My memory is like um
I'm the same way. So if you just come back, like I have to have notes because otherwise I wouldn't be able to even have this conversation.
yeah, I'm just gonna okay, so with that, with the sound and with all of those things, I ultimately discovered and realized that it was nervous system rebalancing. And within my time as a nurse, I would see repeatedly like people being woken up to like for silly things, or like there's like tons of like really loud sounds in the hallways or in the rooms with IV pumps and the vital sign machines and just all the different things. And it's like this is not supportive to the healing process. And obviously I understand, like I'm not dismissing the whatever, but I felt like there was another way. And to me, rest and digest states is literally that is the antidote to the modern living in our society. And so like that is what I see like to my core centrally, like that is what I am offering because of just seeing over and over and over again. It's like it's all like all 95% of the people that came to the hospital was a result of stress and lifestyle decisions.
Oh,
Um so it was, yeah, like it felt imperative to me, like I'm not going to feed into this
mhm.
system because I don't believe in that. And this is like I'm 1,000% there. Like, yeah.
Yes,
So
I just can relate on so many levels, and I think that I've only recently had an awareness. I mean, I think I've had an awareness, but like I feel like it was right around the time that you and I were talking that I was starting to feel like, okay, I have to have like intentional pauses. Like I have to because our modern society is so much about like receiving information and um, getting notifications and all the
yeah,
to-do lists of, you have to be here and you have to be there. And it's just like not the way that I don't think that humans were like meant to be. And so I think it's just really, really unhealthy for our nervous systems. And to your point, like I actually have had just really weird out of the but like just weird things happen to me health wise over the last 7 years, that are probably that I can tell are a result of stress, like what you said. So anyway,
Mhm.
it's just very, I think it probably everyone can relate to it. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to share about that?
Um, there's something that was recently that I recently remembered because as I've been like, I have been actually really reflecting, and maybe it was because of your conversation. They look at the questions. It spurred something in me, and it's like, wow, I really like this. I am taking this path, and it's like offering these different things, and kind of like looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it kind of like I did for this moment just like comes up in my mind where I went to an acupuncturist and skip back. I was like 26 or 27 years old.
Okay.
And she was like, I told her who I was, and she's like, you don't know how many people have told me about you. And she was like, you're not even 30. She was like, um, and it was in regards to like healing modalities because I was teaching yin yoga in that same town at the time.
Okay.
And I remember that really like stuck with me. I was like, wow, that was really kind of her to say. And also it just made me feel like there's something more here that I need to explore. It was kind of like she was acknowledging a calling that I had that I didn't fully wasn't fully in at that time. And yeah,
I
I just
I
yeah.
love that. Because I am a huge believer in, like, actually I think my number one like life calling, I actually think, and part of it was affirmed by you talking for our conversation in December, is just the power of encouragement. I felt from
Yeah,
since I
you
was a
are.
little kid that the power of encouragement is like it's incredible. And but certain people encouraging me or discourage, like seeing other people being discouraged and how that can affect someone.
Hmm.
And so what you're saying is that person could have actually impacted the trajectory of your life just by that simple encouragement, which is,
Yes.
I love that. And
Yeah. And you are so that like
oh, also
yeah.
you said something to me about that, and it made
Yeah.
a huge impact on me because I was like, oh, that's so affirming because that's something that I do care the most about. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, I know nobody has ever really said it to me like that. So
Oh
it's
wow.
really sweet of you.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
yeah, I
Sweet of
appreciate
you.
that. But anyway,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll keep moving so I don't keep you too long. So balancing tradition and intuition. So coming from your background as a registered nurse, how has this experience shaped the way you approach your work in holistic healing? What unique perspective or skills has this brought to your practice? And I know that you already just shared a little bit about that. So
Yeah,
is anything you want to add to it?
totally. I there was something that like immediately beamed in my mind when I read that. So I remember being in nursing and like, receiving a report and like looking at all of the numbers of the person and being like, oh, like their sodium's low. We have to do this protocol or like da 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 da. Like kind of like looking at the data. And
Uh-huh.
as soon as you walk into the room, as soon as you see the person, everything makes sense. It's just like you don't have to, there's no quantification. It's just like there's a like again, going back to intuition, there's this knowing you can kind of sense um where this person is and like how you could support. Like for instance, is this more of something like where it's like truly like they're really sick and they need like, you know, I really believe, and I've seen this since I was like 20 when I first became a nursing assistant. Um, I know that it begins at the spirit and it lands last in the physical body. So when somebody comes with, like somebody has an illness, obviously there's like accidents and things that happen, and that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
inside. But when it's like an actual dis-ease or disorder within the person, it begins in the spirit and ends in the physical. So all that to say, like it's kind of like going to the root of that, of like going back to the spirit, which I think is part of why I do what I do, because it is very ethereal and sort of like of the essence more so than in the body.
Yeah.
Um, going all over the place here, but
Yeah.
so with that, I feel like I really was able to tune into, is this an emotional thing? Is this a more of like this person needs water or like is there like
Yeah.
what is the missing link right now?
Yeah.
And I feel like with the bedside manner, it's transferred greatly to my private sessions with people, like connecting with people prior and making sure that they feel as supported as possible, as safe as possible, like they trust me, like
Mhm.
they're able to, share what they need to share. And then, but even still, like there's sometimes things that we're not consciously aware of and they like kind of crop up. But anyway, all that to say, like I feel like the bedside has really heavily influenced my ability to check the temperature of the energy in a room, like when I'm
Mhm.
giving a session, like, oh, everyone feels more like settled today, or everyone feels a little more frenzied. Like how can I shift that? Not I, but what tools do I
Right.
how can I respond to this?
Yeah.
I'm not doing the shifting, to be clear. But um, yeah, so I feel like I'm very, very, very grateful for my nursing experience because I was in the nursing field for over 10 years from being a nurse aide to nursing. But
I think it must be like you're deeply empathetic too, because I have that trait, and I feel like if you are deeply empathetic, then you do feel and care so much about how people feel in a space, and I don't know, what's beautiful about what you do is you can actually make an impact with your practice. So that's awesome.
thank
Um,
you.
I wanted to ask also about just the word, like the words, which we talked a little bit about, constructive rest. Your tagline emphasizes that. And I just wanted to ask, like, what does the term mean to you specifically, and why do you believe it's such a vital part of healing and personal transformation?
So I love that you asked that because it was one of those things that kind of flashed through like your holistic headquarters for constructive rest. And I kind of didn't know what it meant at the time, but I trusted because that sort of things happened to me so many times in my life. And it's like, we're going with it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but in the reflection, I recognize how it's kind of like going back to the hospital as an extreme example, but also like thinking about how our home is. Like when how are, how is your room when you're sleeping at home? Do you have your TV on? Or like, how are you sleeping? Like, how are you choosing to rest? And is it actually like effective sleep hygiene or, not even necessarily sleep and wait, like you were saying, are you taking time to have intentional pauses through your day? And so the constructive rest is really like you don't have to worry about any of it because come as you come and make yourself as comfortable as possible with um I don't know why I said you don't have to worry about any of it.
Yeah,
But
like you don't have to do anything.
I'm
You just come up, you show up, you
yes.
rest into it, and just absorb the benefits, basically. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel that like it's so much deeper when you're in this space where you feel warm, safe, comfortable, and trusting, and you can kind of
Yeah.
it's and constructive meaning like you're actually receiving rebuilding of your body and it's regenerative. Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit, just a little bit about that, because I think that I don't know if we've talked about like actually what's happening, because I think it's really useful for people to understand. So, is it like your nervous system is rebalanced because of the vibrations of how things are flowing through your body? Is that kind of like what happens?
Yeah, yep, in essence. Yeah, it's more the vibration than the audio. Like,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
sometimes things sound like we can sound like what is this? It doesn't and then it's like, oh, like but yeah, you're still sinking and sinking and sinking and
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. I loved it. I had done a sound therapy session like a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago. I think I was pregnant with Leona. Um so it's been a while,
Listen.
like 7 years ago. So I had kind of known what to expect, and I just like was like, okay, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Okay, ripple effects. I want to talk about. I really felt like this when I was talking to you, that the work that you do has such potential to create ripple effects, and not just for individuals, like, but for our broader community. And like I was just picturing, taking the time for myself to go and do that. How does that then translate to my family? And then my family translates to being around other people when I'm not around. And like, um,
Mm,
how do you see that impact of what you do extending beyond your clients?
that's a great question. I feel like the individual becomes calm and sort of resilient to stress. That's like one of the biggest one of the biggest responses people have said, like something that would normally trigger me, I'm not phased by at all now. And like the impact of how that can be in the home, in the workspace is like profound. I think that's the biggest, I, arguably. I mean, it's a big
That's
piece.
amazing. Yeah. Okay. So, well, I actually feel like now that you say that, I wonder if, because I've had some things happen and I'm like, I'm not worried about it. I need to get back there and do that with you again. Um,
Yeah. I'm looking forward to having you on the 17th too
yeah.
for the craniosacral.
Yeah, that's gonna be, I can't wait to try that out. So, passion and practice, the big purpose of why I have these conversations is because I love to see people living into like their life's path. Like when basically I say passion, but I know that that can be like a buzzword. It's more like leaning into doing what you know is like the right thing for you, and then even if it's scary, and doing it anyway, because I think that there's some like real beauty about that, and I think that somehow that has gotten lost over the years. But I just wanted to know, like, as you continue to grow White Wave Restorations, what has it felt like to turn your passion into practice, and that into a practice that helps others find balance and restoration?
I would say,
The big question, sorry.
yeah, no, it's great because it is like I'm gonna I'm gonna look at the words too. It's like unbelievable gratitude for people to choose to experience it, and to be able to do it. Like I'm like getting emotional. So it's to be like this is my fourth year. Like my birthday, it was like I was like, all right, we're gonna do this, and I was still in nursing but weaning away 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact that I've made it 4 years self-employed in this insane like
Oh yeah.
climate, and I live alone. I'm 100% responsible for my finances. It's like it, and that's just like the the earth physical piece of it aside, but like on a spiritual level, I saw that you saw that like I went through the craniosacral training, and I had been given a sound bath in over a week, and I usually give like 6+ a week, I would say. And I did it. I was like, so like, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, I just couldn't place it. I've been feeling so dysregulated and off. And then yesterday, I gave a sound bath, and I was like, oh, we're back. We're back online. And
I
so,
I
yeah,
thought that was amazing. The suit to hear that. I was like, oh, every time she's giving one, she's also receiving one. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. It's like by proxy, and like and sensing where people are, because like we're all in training to one another. We're all vibrationally becoming in sync with one another. So like when someone's able to like you can like hear that they're deep, like you can just hear it in their breathing.
yeah,
Oh, like you're there too. Like a piece of you is there too.
yeah.
So anyway, I've
Oh, thank you for
gone on
sharing.
about all of this. Thank you for your patience with my
Yeah.
rambling.
No, this was great. So, where can people learn more? Like, where, if they want to find you, where are you at online? Where's the best place to find you?
I'm pretty diligent about my Instagram, thanks to a conversation about like connecting with social media as like a form of modern storytelling. So Instagram, White Wave Restorations, Facebook, White Wave Restorations. My website's whitewaverestorations.com. I have a YouTube that's also White Wave Restorations, and I'm my intention is to monthly upload a yoga nidra video that people can listen to in their homes and
Oh,
receive
that'd
rest.
be awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And we have something coming up, but we haven't fully formulated it yet. But it's funny because I had said like, I'm not going to say yes to a lot of things, and I was like telling you about that, and then and then I was like, yes, like we're doing this thing. So it was like
Yeah.
we're just creating an experience that, well, I deeply need, but it's going to be like a beautiful thing that's coming up in July. I don't know if you want to share anything about it specific.
Yeah. Do you want to share about the premise of it and where it is?
Yeah,
Or,
so yeah,
okay.
go ahead. You can, I'll share
Well,
if
I
well,
want
I'll
you to
share
share
what,
about where it is
okay.
because have like found I would like you to share about where it is and then
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
we were trying to figure out where to do kind of just like a couple hour session that was sound and art kind of together with the intention of it being like very therapeutic. That's like the main intention. And we just kind of we were like looking up, coming up there nothing was really sticking. And then I started looking on Airbnb and I found this place that's actually very close to where I grew up. I don't know if I told you that, but it's up
No.
600 acres in Elverson or Glenmore kind of area on which marsh is it? It's the I can't even
Marsh
think.
Creek, I think.
Marsh Creek, yeah. But
Yeah.
like a little further away from the large part of Marsh Creek.
Okay.
And it's yeah, this beautiful house that was created by one of the students of oh, I can't even think of his
Frank
name.
Lloyd Wright.
Yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright. So it's just gonna be amazing. And we
Yeah.
now we're gonna stay the weekend or not the weekend, Thursday through Saturday and create a little
Yeah, you're
experience.
right, you're right. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
So my part of it will be kind of we're going to work together to create this sound and art practice where my art, the art that everyone produces is really just more like an intuitive art. And so there's zero expectations of what you should be creating, but it's more about self-expression and just sort of being, working with our hands and just kind of being in that like meditative flow state, which is like honestly probably one of the biggest reasons why I love creating is that flow state. And then when we're the few people who are going to stay with us, because we aren't going to be opening the weekend to everyone just because there's not enough space in the place. We're also going to do either plein air painting or observational drawing. So I'm kind of between the two. But yeah, we'll
Yeah, I
see.
think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm so excited too about there's a long room and it's all windows and it's facing I was envisioning that the intuitive painting workshop with the sound immersion, the soothing soundscape would be in that room. I don't know where you were.
No, I think that's great because then the vibrations can stay in there and everyone can actually feel it. I was wondering, I didn't know. I'm very
Yeah,
open to whatever you want to do with that. Yeah. But
yeah, no, I realize we haven't talked about that piece
yeah,
of it,
even if
but
it rained the whole weekend, that house is so beautiful. You would get all the benefits of the visual stimulation of just like the rain. It would be incredible. So it's not going to happen though. I'm sure there'll be time to like walk around and do all the things.
oh yeah, yeah. I feel like that would be a big part of connecting with the nature in that space, which I know is really important to both of us.
Yeah, yeah, that
Mm.
was a whole other part of it too. Is like making sure that you're getting out in nature, just like soaking it in and having it be restorative.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciated we were talking before this and how Cynthia was describing about it being like regulating to the nervous system of like just creating to create and freely and then also being in this natural landscape and immersing. It's yeah, it's going to be really
Yeah, really good for just creating space to renew ourselves so that we can create ripples effects. So we can go out and like, make a bigger impact, I think, in the world in a positive way. And not even like in a way of like, here's a task, but just by being.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to hold you up anymore because I know I told you I'd only keep you till 10
Oh
after.
no, you're fine.
All right.
Great. I can keep going.
Well, we'll share more about that, but yeah, if you're interested, there's only going to be a few spots for the overnight stay. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Thank you,
All right.
Cynthia. This is awesome.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you and chat with you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.